to the professor. Let's take a look at a background package that Njanji Chauke put together for us.
The court says Harmony and Welcome High's policies on pregnancy violated the two girls' right to education. Both were expelled after falling pregnant. The head of the education department instructed the schools to reinstate the pupils. The SGBs went to court saying this was against their policy. The matter then went to the Supreme Court of Appeal. The highest court in the land reversed the decision.
The school governing bodies of Welcome High School and Harmony High School must A. review their current pregnancy policies in the light of this judgment, and B. by not later than 10 October 2013, lodge with this court affidavits setting out the processes that have been followed to review the pregnancy policies.
Two NGOs, Equal Education and the Center for Child Law, were friends of the court. The Center for Child Law says the judgment has set a precedent and will have wider implications. It says many learners are excluded from the education system because of their pregnancy.
As a Center for Child Law, we have received numerous complaints about these type of policies. There's exclusionary policies being applied in various schools throughout the country, whereby children are left out of the schooling system because of the fact that they are pregnant.
Lawyers for the two schools refused to comment. Njanji Chauke, SABC News, Johannesburg.
All right, now this Constitutional Court judgment comes after the governing bodies of Welcome High School and Harmony High School in 2008 and 2009 respectively adopted pregnancy policies that provide for the exclusion of pregnant learners from school for certain time periods. All right, now let me reintroduce my guest in our Pretoria studio, Professor Robert Morrell, the researcher at the University of Cape Town. I beg your pardon, from our Cape Town studios. Professor, again, thank you very much for joining us. Let's talk about this judgment. What does it mean for schools and learners?
Leanne, if I can backtrack a little bit just to provide a bit of background. Pregnant girls have been expelled from schools throughout Africa and South Africa for many, many years. In fact, it's probably been the custom. And with the South African Schools Act of 1996, which took up the lead of the Constitution, it prevented schools from arbitrarily and unreasonably excluding learners. And so the current case that you're reviewing stems from that earlier judgment. But it's not an easy matter because pregnant girls at some point obviously have to leave school to give birth. And so really the debate is centered on at what point should they leave school before they give birth. And so this exclusion judgment made by these two schools goes to the heart of the matter. And I have to say personally that I think those exclusion rulings made by those schools infringe the rights of those learners. Yeah. And I welcome the Constitutional Court case judgment.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, it basically it's affecting their human right to an education.
Yes, the global trend is that if children leave school early, that puts a cap on their development as adults, and obviously this affects girls much more than it does boys.
Surely this puts extra pressure on schools to pay more attention to pregnant learners.
Well, I hope it puts more pressure on schools to take more account of the welfare of the children. It's one thing to change policy, it's quite another to have it implemented nationally. And so while there's been very good policy in many areas of education in South Africa, it's actually the implementation that's the most problematic. And particularly in this area with pregnancy, I think it is teachers who, as well as governing bodies, who should be listening to this judgment and thinking a little bit about how they can help girls when they get pregnant, how they can help young mothers who return to schools after having the baby to complete their studies, and also how they can involve young fathers who are also involved, but seldom directly so, in these dramas, to participate and to help the young mothers.
Yeah. Now, as we say, you did research on pregnancy and young parents at school. What are some of the challenges that face them? I mean, they obviously go through a lot of difficulties being pregnant at school.
Well, yes, being pregnant when you're young, and I'm talking in the mid to late teenage years, or at any time being pregnant is probably quite difficult, is a real challenge. And a lot of these young learners are trying to balance the pregnancy as well as later on looking after young kids with trying to complete schooling. And unless they have the support of family, this is going to be very, very difficult and maybe impossible. So the schools really have an opportunity to assist a large number of young people to make a better start to their adult lives than otherwise might be the case if they were not helped. So I think schools could take a very positive message from this. Yes, it does pose particular challenges, but some teachers are magnificent in responding to it. They help the pregnant girls with their homework. They make sure that if they are away at clinic that they are able to catch up. But unfortunately, the majority position of teachers is not quite so understanding. And really, I'm appealing to those teachers to understand that these young people have a real difficulty and that they have the opportunity to help them.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for talking to us here on Morning Live. From our Cape Town studio, Professor Robert Morrell is a researcher at the University of Cape Town talking about pregnancy and learners going to school at the same time.